The recording has started.
Okay, so as it is 5:48 on February, I think it's the 25th, let's start the Norton Water Sewer Commission meeting. I want to just acknowledge the horrible milestone that we reached this past week of 500,000 people, residents of our fair country, passing from this COVID thing that the president was so humbly sorrowed to recognize. I'd just like to take a brief moment of silence and try to just recognize all the lives and the problems that it's caused and the people that have suffered. Just let's have just a moment of silence for these trying times that we're in. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and say I hope the coming weeks are better with the vaccinations that are coming out and the leadership that we have and the spring that is hopefully coming. If we could start with Frank, please, with superintendent updates.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We'll start off with some talks about flow testing. A few meetings back, we had talked about some unauthorized flow testing that was done. It generated a letter that was approved by the commission. We sent it out to the owners of the properties in town that have fire suppression systems, and we also sent it out to companies that we've dealt with in the past that work in Norton as a friendly reminder that they are required to coordinate their flows with the department to avoid any potential fines. It generated many phone calls and generate phone calls. It is surprising how many different suppression system companies work for buildings here in town. Assumably, we would automatically expect it would be local companies. Some of these companies are coming from a great distance. They must have different rates or different clientele. Maybe they have other buildings somewhere else. But nonetheless, most of the people that we speak to, whether it's truthful or not, were unaware of the regulations. So most have been performing their tamper switch tests and their flow switch tests, which require using water and pumping it through the drain line on the system to indicate a simulated flow, which would be the same as a normal fire event. These flows, even though they are 2-inch lines, are problematic to the system. Thankfully, nowhere near as bad as they were years ago with the implementation of our new treatment facility. We've had many good conversations with companies who, moving forward, will be scheduling their testing with the department. We did implement a fee based on a similar test that we already have a fee set for, which is the larger full-scale flow test. The only difference that we made here was the requirement. They do not have to post in the local newspaper because the posting is actually far more expensive than our cost to be there and the test itself. But we know that these costs are going to be passed down to the property owners who are obviously residents here in town. So this is a big way that we're really staying on top of our unaccounted for water. These tests are done. The varying intensity that the water is flowed through there obviously depends on the size of the system, the distance from the road, and now that we have a better handle on these things, obviously, again, these people are telling us that they were unaware. Whether that is truthful or not moving forward, it will be a coordinated effort between the water department and the sprinkler companies to make sure that before they're completed, that the sprinkler line is completely flushed. And that helps out everybody in the long run. There's backflow preventers that are on these lines. If they're flushed improperly, they can leave debris and sediment in those. And then obviously when our tester or a private tester comes around to test those devices, you're going to get some failures that obviously are costly and do put the public at risk if that backflow preventer isn't working correctly. So there's multiple levels of impact that we're seeing here by being involved with these tests. It just would have been nice if we were involved a little bit sooner on. Other towns have similar instances. It's not a Norton thing. Obviously, if companies can come in and get out of there and save themselves a little bit of money, it's more money in their pocket. But moving forward, this is going to be something that you'll see. We are requiring posting on the town websites and the Norton Media Center to notify people that are in that immediate area. We don't expect a major impact, again, thankfully, due to our water treatment facility, but we will see some smaller localized impacts, and by having our staff on hand to monitor system pressure and water quality, those will be handled rather quickly. We'll jump over to try and keep this nice and sweet here. Jumped off to, I'm going to talk about Mansfield a little bit. Down the end of Reservoir Street, years ago when 495 was put in, a section of Mansfield was cut off with 495 going in place. So they don't have utilities to supply some of the Mansfield residents. They are actually supplied by Norton Utilities. So Mansfield Engineering Department is looking out. They've requested a few markouts and looking for infrastructure plans for the areas down there where they have Mansfield residents that are supplied by Norton Water and technically Norton Sewer in that area. It's a gray area, but either way, it still goes to our system. They're looking to make a few lots down there buildable, is my best guess from what they're looking to do. So there will be some talk in the near future about how to extend the water mains that are down there, and obviously bring some water services into these other homes that will most likely be built on these lots once they deem them as buildable. The question that comes up is, after speaking with some of the office personnel here explaining what we were doing, why we were trying to find some of this old documentation, it appears there's an issue with some unpaid bills for a few residents that are technically Mansfield residents but actually have Norton Water. And if this was a Norton resident, normally we would obviously put a lien on the property and it would be paid by the lien when the taxes are paid. We don't have that option with the Mansfield residents, so it does raise a concern that we could see additional services going unpaid for because we don't have the opportunity to lien the property in a different town. Just didn't know how to proceed with that, as I sent an email off to the Mansfield engineer. They are going to pass it up the chain over there, so we may see some comments coming back and forth. I just want to make sure that the board was aware that there is a situation there.
Yep. Thank you for that, Frank. I think it's a sticky topic, but one way to do it is withhold our quarterly payment to the MFN district until Mansfield closes down their customer or somehow locks that customer on a tax lien. And I know municipalities probably can't behave that way, but I don't know, other than I guess new services, if we had the customer post a bond for the possibility of non-payment, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in the same ballpark. I really don't know how to proceed with that.
I guess, as I talk, I thought of MOA, a Memorandum of Agreement. So we need a Memorandum of Agreement between the two municipalities, which, and this is going to be somehow greater than my legal experience ever would be, that we have to just reach out and lien someone. No pun intended. Mansfield would have to agree that because Norton is supplying utilities, there would be a vehicle by which we could, I don't know if the word is subrogate or somehow put an additional lien on their Mansfield property taxes. Because if I think about it out loud, if I'm a utility provider anywhere, I can lien a property. We just need to, in the legal world, maybe it's a pre-lien, whereby each lot that we approve gets a mechanism by which, I'm not going to say it's an annex of Norton, but if we can go ahead and make the customer pay for a pre-lien situation, if and when they forget to pay their Norton water or sewer, we exercise said lien. The lien sits vacant until we actually find the time when we need it. So there are, again, it's way more legal stuff than I can come up with, but you can basically lien a property for anything, and municipality to municipality, I'm sure it's possible. We just need the right vehicle, because it sounds like there's more than one, right?
To the best of my knowledge, there is one that is large and outstanding, and there are a few other smaller ones. This is all pre-COVID. Obviously, right now, most people have other priorities, and water and sewer are going unpaid. We've noticed some changes with revenue coming in, but this is something that's been outstanding.
Yep. So I guess retroactively, it's kind of difficult to do. I'm going to go ahead and state the obvious. We can obviously turn the water off if for non-payment.
Yeah, I will. I'll follow up with council and see if what type of paperwork we need to get it in place, providing that Mansfield is going to move forward and make these lots buildable, which obviously at some point would be sold off.
Yep. So these are. So now I'm hearing they're not connected to the utility, the water utility or sewer. They just have betterments that weren't paid or something.
No, I'm speaking of two different things. Sorry, long day. So there are existing customers down there now that are supplied by Norton Water that are unpaid. Mansfield is looking, they have some vacant lots down there that may be non-conforming. In order to make them buildable or an interesting, able to be sold lot, I believe they're going to change some of the layout of them, and they wanted to provide water and sewer to those lots. So what we're trying to do is avoid the potential for adding more customers in a different town supplied by our utility, that we could run into the same situation here.
Got it. Well, all of what I just said applies to everything.
Yes, it does.
The existing issues, you could shut them off, and maybe it's fire a shot across the bow and tell Mansfield you're going to shut the people off. Give them 60 days to tell the people that it's time to pay, really, and then do whatever you got to do. But the other case obviously is a little different, because now we don't want to create this any longer, and the question would be, how do we pre-lien, or how do we access through Mansfield's property tax system, or just the municipal lien system, something in advance of what you create? Because each one we open up, each new lot we open up, you could somehow pre-lien one, make the developer or resident pay for said lien, and it would just sit there until it's exercised, hopefully in perpetuity. But again, the legal team will come up with that one.
Very good. It's definitely an interesting situation, and mine's far above anything that I could control. So we will definitely go out and get counsel to figure out how to move forward with new and what to do with the existing.
Got it.
All right, I got a couple more things here. We'll talk about the center elevated tank. At a previous board meeting, we discussed what the requirements are going to be for the cell carrier who wants to come in and upgrade their existing antennas and base units. As expected, I received a call almost the very next day from a second carrier who was looking to do similar upgrades. They need to change over to their 5C and 5G service. I've requested that they provide us with the same coverage as the first cell carrier was required, which is the $2 million blanket coverage, which lists the town of Norton, the town of Norton Water Department on their certificate of commercial insurance. They have provided me with a copy of that already, and they've provided me with copies of the insurance for the subcontractors that they will be using to install the scaffolding. I want to know if the board had any other requests, or if the board would allow me to sign the letter to authorize the contractor to proceed. They were actually looking to get in as soon as March 1st, if we do get the approval, and they anticipate to be in and out of there probably by the 18th for their upgrade portion.
I'm okay with it. Steve Bishop, are you all right with that?
Absolutely.
Yep. Let's allow Frank to go ahead and sign. I think we don't need to hold these people up. I'd really like it if they'd comp us a whole bunch of phones for the water department. I've been slacking. What happened to me, man? This is insane. We got cell towers on our towers. Just shut them all down until they come up with phones.
All right. Well, we still got a few more carriers to go.
All right, good. The next one. Everybody supplies 2 phones, and sooner or later we'll be getting 3 phones. But no, seriously, please. Do we need this in the form of a motion? I think we've already granted Frank the permission, right?
You did for the other cell carrier. This is the same situation, just a different carrier.
All right. This probably doesn't require a motion. It's the same kind of concept. You're just branching out. I appreciate you coming to us. And as it sounds like they're going to get on board Monday and start their work, I think they should go ahead and get that going.
Excellent. Very good. Thank you. I will make sure that.
And if I may, I know you're a details guy, but I have to say it so I feel better tonight when I sleep. Have somebody go by and check for, if nothing else, the trash, the debris, the parking, the access, watch out for my valves. I don't know who you send over there. That's up to you, but tell them to play nice in their sandbox.
That will be handled accordingly.
Thank you, sir.
Sure thing. One last thing on my end. We've recently heard from the other developer. I believe we talked about this probably over a year ago. There was a second 40B project looking to go in at 253 Mansfield Ave. They are going to move forward with their project. They've sent me a hard copy of their proposed plans. We've had multiple email exchanges, and I've already come up with some changes based on location of existing utilities. They are going to modify their plans based on some of the changes I kind of pointed out to them. It would be in their best interest to do a few certain things a different way. So I expect to see a PDF copy of those updated plans relatively soon. The hard copy, I would imagine, will be soon to follow. They need to come before the board to present, and they want to do that obviously at one of our next meetings. They presented to, I believe, the ZBA last, and they have some type of a Zoom or display-based scenario that they wanted to present. Didn't know, obviously we have this phone call set up now. Do you both have the option to view a Zoom meeting or something similar? I could have John set up at one of our next meetings, which we haven't determined what the dates would be yet, a co-host situation where we could do a Zoom meeting. That way you guys could witness the material, since we aren't doing in-house meetings yet.
I could. Well, yep. Anything is possible. I'm a fan of hard copies of plans because I believe the big print giveth and the small print taketh away. So if I can't see the plan and it's full plan, I'm not real happy. And I guess I'll take it upon myself to get out to the water department on the plan table and review what I like. I'll mark up my notes and discuss it intelligently at the next meeting. I'm not going to say it's going to be quick, but if they're trying to move things faster, maybe they should have started earlier. But I'm just going to go ahead and say I like hard copies, and if they provide you, Frank, with the hard copies, I will review them at my earliest convenience, and we will move ahead and therefore set up their conversation about said plans at the next meeting after that, whenever that is.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that hard copy set. I really don't do well with those small PDFs and trying to look on a computer. It's one thing you can put your hand right on it, and you can make the markouts on that hard copy. So I will request that new set of updated copies, and I will let you know once it's here.
Super.
Steve, would you be available to take a quick look at those once I get them as well?
Yes, I can.
Very
Absolutely.
good. I assume so. If not, I'm sure I can drop them off to either one of you if it's going to make it a little more convenient once I obtain them. That is all I have. Short and sweet tonight. I know Tara and Steve have a bit to go.
Very good. Thank you, Frank. I also, I don't know if this was communicated to everybody here, but the select board and myself and Frank met, I don't know, was it a week or 2 weeks ago, and they were very appreciative of the clean water and the department's continued support of the treatment plan. I just wanted to relay that to everybody, and in our forum say, Frank, we all really appreciate the hard work you and all the guys are doing. And I know you're going to be humble and say it's a team effort, but the leadership you have shown and the hurdles you've overcome almost daily, if not hourly, are very much appreciated by all of us. It certainly makes our work, whatever that is or isn't, much easier. So thank you, Frank.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Moving right ahead, Steve Peterson, what do you have for us tonight?
Hey, Luke.
Hey, Steve, how you doing?
You guys, I'm good. Quick update on the sewer end. There's not a lot going on right now during the winter here. So for the West Main Street, the only thing that's happened since the last meeting is we did receive the most recent SRF reimbursement. So as far as cash flow, we are current. You know, all the money that has been, all the bills that have come in, we've recovered the money through SRF and through the Housing Authority to pay all the bills. So the town should be all set on that end. We were really heading next, and what I started to discuss at the last meeting is formulating the plan for the dealing with the project debt. So at this point, we're really looking at two loans. We have the SRF loan for the project that, when all said and done, we'll have one more payment after the final paving is done. So there'll be one more disbursement on the SRF loan. But the total SRF loan will be about $4.6 million. And then there's also a local borrowing for the ineligible cost, basically the design and the stuff, you know, prior to going to construction that isn't covered through the SRF, which you've already been paying back. That's about $350,000.
Okay.
So much less than the SRF loan. So those are really the two debt services that we need to look at going forward and make sure the monies are in place. The SRF loan is closing, and the payments are going to start coming due this July. So the payments due in July and January of each year. So to that end, as far as making sure the monies are in place to pay the annual debt service, we've got the school share. So the school is paying a share of the cost based on all the improvements that benefited them. The sewer betterments, we're going to need to issue the sewer betterment assessments to the fronted properties so that the sewer department can start collecting the betterment monies and have that money in place. There've been, you know, when these were put forward at the town meetings, there was discussions of the use of the APN, the annual payments to Norton, and that incremental increase that is happening over time. So we need to look at that as well as how it impacts the sewer budget. So to that end, we talked about scheduling a meeting with town halls, basically with the town manager and the finance department. We do have something scheduled for Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, March 2nd at 3 p.m. And we're working on finalizing just how all these numbers pull together, looking at the debt service of those two loans versus anticipated collection of the other monies. And that's what we want to talk about with the town manager and the finance staff, basically to make sure that everybody's on the same page and that whatever monies need to be collected are being collected, so they will be in place to pay the bills, pay the debt. So everybody, so both Steve and Luke, as well as Frank, were sent the invitation for that meeting on Tuesday. I guess one question on that: if you're both, Steve and Luke, you're both going to attend, do we need to post it as a meeting?
Well done. Yes, we will. I'll zoom in. Steve?
As well as I, yep. I had planned on it.
Cool. So yes, please. Frank, if you could have that posted.
I will.
Super.
Yeah, and I sent that out as a Teams invite through the email, so let me know if you have any trouble getting that. And so that's what I have on that, unless there are any questions. Obviously, we'll go into more detail on that on Tuesday, more of the specifics.
Sounds good.
And Frank, I think you and I just need to circle back on Cobb Street in terms of reviewing the plans that have been submitted. We should get something on the books. The biggest thing we wanted to talk about was a plan to mitigate the shutdown, to be able to shut the station down for a limited period of time. And we were going to talk to Howard, I think.
Yep.
I haven't circled back with you in the last couple of weeks. Things have been a little crazy, so we just need to circle back on that. But other than that, there's nothing else to report on either of those projects.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that unless you have any questions for me. You can pass it on to Tara.
Very good. I think that'll wrap it up. Thank you very much, Steve. Hi, Tara. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Luke. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. Doing fine. What kind of madness do you have for us for the water side of things?
Sure. Well, so as an update on the treatment plant, pretty much the big outstanding item is the recycle tank. The plan was to prep and heat the tank last week, and hopefully earlier this week we were going to just touch up some of the coating. Unfortunately, we had some weather last week, and the heaters, they need to bring in more heaters. So we've got some blankets on top of the tank, and we've got some heaters going. They were able to kind of curb I guess I'll just call it the rain effect when you've kind of got a cold exterior and the warm interior. You really need to try to warm up the ground, buried ground outside of the tank, too, to kind of stop that condensation. So we've got that under control, and today it's a little bit of a delay with the delivery of the paint, but they were actually able to get in there today and start the coating work. They were planning to be in there today and tomorrow, and depending on weather and temperature, the cure time is roughly 3 to 7 days. So we're hoping that by the end of next week we'll be able to fill the tank and test it. So we're running a few days behind what we had originally anticipated. However, the contractors' next round of coating their new sub for waterproofing is confident that he's going to be able to get this wrapped up and buttoned up with this first attempt on his end. So that was good to hear, and as we all know, we'll see how it goes, and the hope is that it'll be wrapped up and it is in fact going to be completed by the end of next week, or if not then by Monday or so, maybe the plant operators will be able to turn it on and instill some water in there. So I'm cautiously optimistic. We've heard this before, but this is a new waterproofing contractor, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in this case. But contractors worked with them in the past on a recent project, and they did wonders on that one. So we're hoping it does the same thing for us. So that's where we're at with the treatment plant. I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I know we've been holding payment until this is complete, and I relayed that to the contractor, and he's not happy, but he's aware, and they'll get paid when it stops leaking.
Perfect.
Okay, so the next project is the well replacement work over at wells 5 and 6. We have the drilling contractor is over at well 6A. They've continued to install the 48-inch casing. There are approximately 43 feet, 48-inch casing completed. They just welded the last piece on that casing. However, they are in a clay layer that is a little bit tricky right now. They're still trying to pull the casing through. It's just going a lot slower than they had hoped and anticipated, but they're going to keep going at it. They are bringing in a consult to see if they can get a little help to try to expedite things. We had anticipated probably about 2 weeks or so remaining, but it is dependent on how quickly they can get through this clay layer. So once they're finished with that, go next to the 36-inch casing, and then hopefully wrap that up. So we're hoping we don't lose too many more days on this clay layer, but It has slowed us down a little bit. In the meantime, I believe I gave the last update was on the screen for well 5A. There's been some issues with weather across the entire country, as everybody's very aware of. We just received another update this week on the delivery of that screen, and we're still in as the delivery is stating, a weather delay. So even if the screen was here, and we're having some issues with this clay layer, we might be able to talk about moving to 5. But Frank and I discussed the best thing to do is just wrap up well 6. Especially if it's only going to be in a couple more weeks, and then move over to 5 when we're there. Either way, we can't move to 5 until we have the screen anyway. So it's a large piece of freight material, so it does have special delivery instructions, and unfortunately it's held up right now due to the weather. So I'll keep everybody posted when we see it move. I don't know if anybody's mailed anything of late, but there seems to be this in transit that everybody gets a response on as far as where something is, or if it's just in transit. So you got to wait till it gets to the next facility, kind of get an update. So we're hoping it's on its way, and hopefully it breaks through some of this weather issues that we've been seeing, and it'll be there when hopefully we'll wrap up 6 and we'll be able to go right away over to 5 and get that process moving. But we're kind of in a holding pattern right now on that screen until it arrives. So good news is they still are working on 6. I don't know if there's any questions on the well replacement job. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer those.
It sounds like you guys have it pretty much under control. I'm fully anticipating a mobilization charge over to well 5, so we won't even try to beat them up on that. I gotta do something, man. The Zoom is killing me.
I know. So Kevin McKinnon and I were actually chatting about that last week. I was like, they're going to ask if there's a mobilization charge, and he's like, we've got an agreement on the price. Even if it takes longer, it's an agreed upon price. They knew what they were going to be drilling, so if they get it done fast, great for them. They make more profit. If they have some delays, there's no extra charges to the town. It is what it is. That's the set fee for putting these 2 wells in. So no additional mobilization.
I got you. So I can visualize this. I haven't seen the 48-inch casing going in. Is that one ginormous, like drilling a case on it? Is that what's happening, Tara?
Yeah, you basically have a steel casing, and they just keep welding segments on top, usually 8 foot or so, and they pull it in. So it's kind of a whole process of you pull the casing and you kind of pull out the balance of soil out of that area. So it's right now it's tough to pull through a clay lens, and they're just kind of stuck right there. Doing the best they can, just slow going. So if you're through nice sand and gravel, it's a heck of a lot easier to displace the soil. But getting in with that clay layer is a little thick, and it's not going to impact it's a little high up on as far as where are we at? I think well 5 was a shallower well, but well 6 is 84 feet deep, so our screen's going to be pretty far down in there, and casing, the 48-inch casing is only going to be about 45, 50 feet or something like that. So it's just we had the same issue over at 5. We had a little bit of a clay layer. Just kind of takes them, instead of taking maybe a day, it might take them 5 days to kind of pull through that type of soil. So.
Well, very good. It sounds like they're moving along, and obviously as we could use the water as soon as possible, but it is what it is, as Belichick would say.
Yeah, they're pushing as hard as they can. It's tough to work in the winter and they shorter days. If it's summertime, you're out there, you can do a 12-hour day. I mean, these guys will work. It's just that as it gets darker, it's a little tough for them to. You want to be safe, so you don't want to be out there doing stuff. So
that makes sense.
But, yeah, and there was a couple of days that we had some weather issues. Obviously, we all hit some of the freezing temperatures and below cold average temps and some heavier snow. But of late, the last couple weeks, we're doing pretty good and hit the clay layer, and we're hoping to get through pretty quickly. But it is taking a little longer. But yeah, it is what it is, and they're out there, and they're certainly doing their best and putting their right foot forward and getting it done. So biggest concern on our end is really making sure the screen arrives. So we want to make sure that that's ready to go, and as soon as it's on site, rather have it on site before we finish 6, so that as soon as they finish 6, they can jump right over to 5 and start developing the well installation of the screen and development of the well. So
Sounds good.
and then the only other project I had to really update on, a couple weeks back, we talked about the American Water Infrastructure Act, the AWIA requirements by the federal EPA. We're going to be doing a kickoff meeting with Frank and John on Tuesday afternoon. Going to talk about that. We've got a list of requirements. Just want to review exactly what the project entails and talk through the next couple months as the risk and resiliency assessments are due by June 30th. So we'll wrap that up before that deadline, and then start to talk a little bit about the next 6 months, which is the emergency response plan updates, which we'll talk to Frank and John about the likelihood of if they need our assistance for all of it, or if we can delegate some of it. So we've got a contract for all of it, but kind of time and materials for that portion of the work. And I know that right now everybody's super busy over at the water department, and they've got a little overextended with all the other things going on. So we're committed to making sure that that's signed off on by the end of the year too, to get that in one way or another. So we'll talk it all out on Tuesday and work through the next I guess more or less 9 months or so, 10 months of AWIA work. So should be too bad. It's relatively painless if we take it all on and put it all together for you guys. So I think it'll be a good layout for the future as well, just understanding your assets and vulnerabilities for the water side of things from source to tap.
Very good.
And that's about it. So yeah, I think that's about it on my end.
I like it. Anybody have anything else? I think we need to set a couple of meetings. It feels like 2 and 7. I think it works out to be March 9th, and then 14 is the 23rd, maybe.
You are correct.
All right. Those would be the next meetings, and if anybody else, if people have nothing else, I guess I should ask, are there any other questions, comments?
Are we keeping the meeting time the same?
You guys like 5:30? Is that? Would you rather change, Frank? What are you thinking?
I have no issue. I just want to make sure that that's what I'm writing down on my paper.
Is this some kind of backwards, tongue-in-cheek question? Are you going to be on time, Mr. Chairman? I heard you. All right.
I didn't say that.
I know I heard it loud and clear, brother. You're good. You will get yours tomorrow. I like 5:30. Just as it doesn't matter why I'm late. I'm getting a phone right now. I'm sitting in front of T-Mobile on somebody else's phone. This is insane. But I'm zooming. I'm here. You're not going to recognize the number, but I'm with you. And I think 5:30 will work for me. This is coming no matter what.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness. In that respect, Mr. Bishop, may I have your favorite motion?
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second that. Everybody, thank you very much. We'll all be in touch.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
This session is no longer being recorded.